And from what it seems, Sabrina Ionescu followed her on Instagram yesterday, which is not an ideal scenario for the Indiana Fever if you are competing with the New York Liberty, because everyone's saying, oh, she'll take a hometown discount, you know, stay near Caitlin because of her business. But like, I mean, it's not like her and Caitlin are suddenly not going to be friends anymore, and you better believe being in New York helps with that too.
Sabrina Ionescu followed Lexi Hull on Instagram yesterday. That's not just social media gossip, that's a recruiting signal. And if you're the Indiana Fever, that notification should terrify you because it means the New York Liberty are circling one of your core pieces. The Fever want to keep Lexi Hull. Obviously they want to keep her. But wanting something and being able to afford it are two completely different problems.
Not only that, like, she is now a restricted free agent, so she can't take a hometown discount. As far as I'm aware, I don't think she is allowed to negotiate a hometown discount to stay. I need to make sure. I need to be 100% sure of that. Restricted free agent, WNBA rules. I need to make sure of that. So,
here's the trap Indiana just walked into. Lexi Hull is a restricted free agent, which sounds like protection but actually creates a nightmare scenario. She can take meetings with any team in the league. She can negotiate offer sheets with teams that have massive cap space. And the Fever can only match those offers or watch her walk. They don't get to negotiate a hometown discount. They don't get to have a friendly conversation about taking less money to stay. The rules don't allow it. Once another team puts an offer sheet in front of her, Indiana either matches that exact number or she's gone.
Going to be quite similar. And you might be saying, oh, but like, how is that? The New York Liberty have 3 max contract players. The odds of Sab taking a regular max over super max is relatively high. The odds of John Quell taking the regular max, the odds of Stewie taking a 200k pay cut is relatively high. Like, these are players that might take that pay cut. But if we're being real here, they also have an entire team of minimum contract players. Their whole team are reserved free agents.
Let's talk about what the market actually looks like for a player like Lexi Hull. Bridget Carleton just signed for $1.4 million with Minnesota. Bridget Carleton is better than Lexi Hull, but not by much. They're in the same tier of effectiveness. They're both elite 3 and D wings who bring championship-level intangibles. So if Carleton is worth $1.4 million, what's Hull worth? Maybe $1 million, maybe $800,000. And here's the problem. Multiple teams can afford to offer her that kind of money. The Fever probably can't match it.
Every single one of them. And not only that, Hanju is coming back, who is a 6'11 giant. Hanju is coming back. Raquel Carrera is coming over. They might be able to convince Maria Foto to come over. They only lost Kane via expansion draft. I think Rebecca Gardner is a reserve free agent. BLH is a reserve free agent. They can get her. They can get a solid championship starter on the minimum. Phoebish is pretty much on the minimum.
Think about New York's cap situation for a second. They have 3 max contract players. Sabrina Ionescu is probably taking a regular max instead of the super max. Jonquel Jones is likely taking the regular max. Brianna Stewart might take a $200,000 pay cut to keep the core together. These are players who've already won championships and made their money. They'll sacrifice for another title. But here's what people are missing. The rest of New York's roster is filled with minimum contract players. Every single role player is on a reserved free agent deal. If New York offers them the minimum, they either sign it or don't play in the WNBA. That's how you create cap space.
And for people being like, oh, these teams won't offer her that much. Bridget Carleton is barely better than Lexi Hull. She's better, not by much. Like, Lexi Hull is basically an equivalent in terms of effectiveness to Bridget Carleton. Carleton's getting paid $1.4 million. So, absolutely, a team that has a bunch of cap space might throw $1 million at Lexi Hull. And that's the scary thing about all this, is the Fever can't match that. The Fever just can't. And I don't think Lexi Hull is worth $1 million for the Fever.
And New York isn't just running it back with the same roster. Han Su is coming back. That's a 6'11" center who gives them size they didn't have in the finals. Raquel Carrera is coming over from overseas. They might convince Maureen Faustine Johannes to join them. They only lost Nyara Sabali in the expansion draft. Rebecca Allen is a restricted free agent they can bring back on the minimum. Betnisha Lonnie Hamilton is a restricted free agent who'll take a minimum deal to chase another ring. Kayla Thornton proved she's a solid rotation piece on a minimum contract. This team can run back their entire championship core, add international talent, and still have enough cap space to offer Lexi Hull $800,000. Maybe even $1 million if they really want her.
Might go and take a hometown discount? I think Lexi might take a hometown discount, but it's within reason. Like, Lexi might take a hometown discount, but like, I don't think we're going to see Lexi taking a hometown discount to go and to basically go and, or between Fever and New York. I think it's going to be for business reasons, not because she loves Indiana or anything. And obviously you've got then you've got the extra, I think they probably get taxed more in New York.
Now let's compare that to Indiana's situation. The Fever are operating under the assumption that Kelsey Mitchell is coming back. Mitchell is their second best player, and she's hitting unrestricted free agency. If they want to keep Mitchell and Hull, they're looking at 2 major contracts eating up most of their cap. They also have Aaliyah Boston on a rookie deal that's about to escalate. They have Nalissa Smith, who they might want to move but haven't been able to trade yet. They have Caitlin Clark on a rookie max that's only going up. The math doesn't work. Something has to give.
Organization. And at the end of the day, when it comes to Lexi Hull, the Indiana Fever basically have they have 2 Lexi Hull type players in Sophie Cunningham and Hull, and ideally you want both. It's looking like they might not be able to afford both, and it really just depends on who Lexi Hull's meeting and what she wants. Because if she goes and takes meetings with teams with a bunch of cap space, like if I'm...
Here's where it gets really dangerous for Indiana. If Lexi Hull starts taking meetings with teams that have cap space, this spirals out of control fast. Imagine you're the Dallas Wings. You just cleared a bunch of salary. You need culture. You need veterans who know how to win. You desperately need shooting and defense. Why wouldn't you offer Lexi Hull a 2-year deal at $1 million per year? That locks her up for 2 seasons, gives you a proven winner to pair with Arik Ogunbowale, and the timing works perfectly because you can still offer Paige Buchers a supermax when her rookie deal ends. Dallas could run out Arik, Satu Sabali at the supermax, Lexi Hull at $1 million per year, and still have room to build around them. That's a playoff team immediately.
You've just cleared a bunch of cap room. I'm offering Lexi Hull a 1-year, $1 million. Heck, I might offer Lexi Hull a 2-year, $1 million a year, to make sure that they have Lexi Hull for the 2 years, and then they don't have to pay her a max once Paige Becker's max contract kicks in. I'd pay her 2-year, $1 million a year if I was Dallas, especially because you can afford her for 2-year, $1 million a year. You can afford a Rika and a supermax, and you can still give Azare $1 million a year. Suddenly you then have, if you're not getting Dearica Hamby, suddenly then your team is Arike, Paige, Lexi, Azare, and you go in the draft and you take Betts or Awa.
And Dallas isn't the only team that can do this. Any franchise with cap room and championship aspirations should be calling Lexi Hull's agent right now. She's exactly the kind of player you overpay slightly to change your culture. She plays defense. She doesn't need the ball. She hits open threes at a high percentage. She's been to the playoffs. She's played alongside Caitlin Clark, which means she knows how to play winning basketball in high-pressure situations. Most importantly, she's a restricted free agent, which means you can force Indiana to make an impossible choice, match an offer they can't afford, or lose a core rotation player for nothing.
The Fever cannot afford to outbid these teams, unless, of course, they plan on getting rid of Kelsey Mitchell, which I don't think they are. I think it's going to be one and done with Kelsey Mitchell. Look, how big of a loss is Lexi Hull? I don't think it's as big as people think, but it's still a loss. It is absolutely still a big loss if she goes.
Let's address the argument that Lexi will take a hometown discount to stay in Indiana. First of all, the restricted free agency rules might not even allow that. The CBA states that restricted free agents can negotiate offer sheets with other teams, and their original team has the right to match. It's unclear whether Indiana can negotiate directly with Hull before she hits the open market, or if they're forced to wait for another team to make an offer first. But even if they can negotiate, why would Lexi leave money on the table? She's not from Indiana, she went to Stanford. This isn't a hometown situation. Her connection is to Caitlin Clark, not to Indianapolis. And Caitlin isn't going anywhere for at least 3 more years. Here's what makes this situation so precarious for the Fever. They're not just competing against teams with cap space. They're competing against better organizations. New York is a better run franchise than Indiana. That's not an insult, it's just reality. The Liberty have better facilities, better coaching, better front office infrastructure, and they just won a championship. If New York offers Lexi Hull $800,000 and Indiana offers her $800,000, she's choosing New York 10 times out of 10. Better city for endorsements, better team for winning, better organization for player development. The only advantage Indiana has is Caitlin Clark, and that's not enough when the gap between the two organizations is this wide. And here's the part that should keep Fever fans up at night. Indiana has 2 Lexi Hull-type players on their roster. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull fill similar roles. Both are 3-and-D wings. Both bring energy and toughness. Both can hit the corner 3. If the Fever lose Hull, they still have Cunningham. But if they lose Hull and can't afford to keep Cunningham either, suddenly you're looking at a massive hole in your rotation. You're replacing proven veterans with rookies or minimum contract players who might not be ready for playoff basketball. Think about the timeline here. Caitlin Clark's rookie deal runs through the 2027 season. That's 3 more years of having the best young player in basketball on a below-market contract. That's your championship window. You need to maximize these 3 years because once Clark hits free agency, she's getting a supermax that eats up 40% of your cap. If you waste this window by losing key rotation players like Lexi Hull, you're not just hurting your chances next season. You're potentially wasting the most cost-effective years of a generational talent's career. Now let's talk about what happens if the Fever actually lose Lexi Hull. Who replaces her? Erica Wheeler is a free agent, but she's a point guard, not a wing. Ariel Powers could come back on a minimum deal, but she's 31 years old and her defensive mobility isn't what it used to be. You could draft a wing in the 2025 draft, but rookies rarely contribute at a championship level in year 1. The WNBA isn't the NBA. There's no summer league to develop players. There's no G League assignment to get them reps. You're throwing them into the fire against the best players in the world, and most rookies struggle. The other option is to make a trade. But what assets does Indiana have? They already traded their 2025 first-round pick to get Caitlin Clark. Nalissa Smith has trade value, but moving her creates a hole at power forward. Kelsey Mitchell has trade value, but if you're trading Mitchell, you're basically punting on the championship window entirely. Aaliyah Boston is untouchable. Caitlin Clark is untouchable. So who exactly are you trading to get a replacement for Lexi Hull? The answer is nobody. If Hull walks, you're replacing her with a significantly worse player, and your championship odds drop accordingly. Here's the business reality that Fever fans need to understand. The WNBA salary cap for 2025 is projected to be around $1.46 million per team. The maximum salary is around $241,000. That sounds low compared to the NBA, but it creates the same cap management problems. You can't just pay everyone, you have to make choices. And when you have Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Nalissa Smith all on your roster, you're already committed to 4 significant contracts. Adding Lexi Hull at $800,000 or $1 million might literally be impossible without cutting someone else. The Fever could try to move Nalissa Smith to create space, but Smith's value is complicated. She's a talented player who had a down year in 2024. She went from averaging 15 points and 8 rebounds in 2023 to 11 points and 7 rebounds in 2024. Her efficiency dropped, her three-point shooting fell off, and there were whispers about her fit alongside Caitlin Clark. If you're trying to trade Smith, you're selling low. You're not getting equal value back. You might have to attach a draft pick just to move her contract, which defeats the purpose of creating cap space in the first place. So what's the actual path forward for Indiana? Best case scenario, Kelsey Mitchell takes slightly less than max money to stay. Lexi Hull gets an offer sheet from another team for around $700,000 per year. The Fever match it and figure out how to make the money work by moving Smith or letting other role players walk. They run back the core of Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Hull, and Cunningham, add a rookie or two, and hope that continuity plus internal development is enough to compete for a title. That's the optimistic version. Worst case scenario, Kelsey Mitchell gets a max offer from another team and leaves. Lexi Hull gets an offer sheet from New York or Dallas for over $1 million per year, and the Fever can't match it. Suddenly, you've lost your second and fourth best players in the same offseason, and you're trying to rebuild around Caitlin Clark with no cap space and no assets. That's how championship windows close before they ever really open. The Sabrina Ionescu Instagram follow isn't just a fun social media moment, it's a signal that the Liberty are serious about adding Lexi Hull. And if New York wants her, they're going to get her unless Indiana is willing to blow up their entire cap structure to keep her. The question isn't whether Lexi Hull is worth $1 million. The question is whether she's worth $1 million to the Fever specifically, when that $1 million might mean losing someone else, or hamstringing your flexibility for the next 2 years. My prediction? Lexi Hull signs an offer sheet with New York for somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million per year. Indiana tries to match it, realizes they can't make the math work without cutting multiple players, and lets her walk. The Fever replace her with a combination of aerial powers on a minimum deal and a draft pick, and they're noticeably worse on defense next season. New York adds Hull to a championship roster that already has shooting and defense, and they become even more dominant. And in 2 years, when Caitlin Clark is still in Indiana and the Fever haven't made a finals appearance, we'll look back at this moment as the turning point. So here's the question for you. If you're the Indiana Fever, do you match any offer Lexi Hull gets, even if it means sacrificing depth elsewhere, or do you let her walk, trust that Sophie Cunningham can fill the role, and use that money to keep Kelsey Mitchell and add pieces around the edges? Because you can't have both. The cap won't allow it. And the decision you make this offseason determines whether Caitlin Clark's championship window opens or closes before it ever really begins. Let me know what you do in the comments.